Hello and welcome everyone to today's News Tonight, the weeknight news show where we're joined by special guests and our lovely patrons to discuss the day's gaming news. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined today by my good friends and GVG co-founders, Ash Holson and Steve Bowling. And we're also joined by our very special guest, the Great Clement. Welcome, good sir.
Aloha, how you doing?
Doing pretty well. Now, before we get into the episode itself, we do have a sponsor for tonight. We have somebody paid for that tier on our Patreon, which is simply insane. And we got to give a special ad read for Michael Phone, who says in their copy, "Are you tired with the negativity in games coverage? Are you looking for a new game to play? Well, good news! Michael Phone is starting a new series of finding all the good in media that's considered underrated, forgotten, or downright mediocre. The first 2 episodes have been released, talking about Dead Island and everybody's favorite everybody's favorite Bobcat, Bubsy. What could possibly go wrong? And once the channel hits 2,500 subscribers, there will be a very special episode on the Fast and Furious Crossroads, just right straight down Ash's alley.
Yes, nice.
So you can go to Michael Phone on YouTube or click the link that we'll have in the description. So definitely check that out, and finding the good in Bubsy. Good luck.
I love it.
Yeah.
Fun fact. Go ahead, Steve.
I was going to say, I love the channel concept. Like somebody
me
in our Patreon mentioned that or in our Discord mentioned that this would be a great idea to like take a game that is widely considered to be bad and find what the good parts of that game are. And I think that's a really cool take to have, because there are, good things in bad games. So I'm down. I'd love to see it. I also want to see the Crossroads video if
Me
we
too.
can get him to 2,500. So go sub to Michael Phone. He definitely deserves it. He's a great guy. Deserves your support. And thank you.
And that was also a similar idea was recently suggested on our subreddit too. And I think it's a great idea. And I love what you're doing with that, Michael Phone. Very cool idea. Funny story, fun fact. One of the very few dark marks on my dad's voiceover career is the fact that he was Bubsy in Bubsy 3D.
Yeah.
One of the very few.
Couldn't that be considered one of the positive things about Bubsy? That
could be. That could maybe be the one positive thing about Bubsy is that my dad did his voice, at least for one of the games. But
also,
I think it's a great concept.
Cartoon pilot as well, I believe, right?
I forgot they made that. Yeah, there was a cartoon pilot as well. He did do that. Oh man, yeah, that's So I guess if there is one good thing about Bubsy, that's probably it.
It was a fine performance of a very terrible game.
Yes.
Exactly. But what have you been up to lately, Clement? How have you been?
Oh, not much. I've just been enjoying the cold winter of Canada, Been doing a lot of editing, just been glued to the TV because, the news. And
what news?
Yeah, it's been
the evil is
totally
gone.
Normal day. Yeah, the evil has been defeated. Finally,
just some stuff happening at the Capitol. Nothing crazy, but
no big deal.
Otherwise, I've just been kind of relaxing for a bit, just trying to get used to 2021. My town's been in lockdown for a while, so I haven't really been going out much, doing anything. It's like every time I want to exercise, I just play Wii Fit. And I know some people are going to be asking, why aren't you playing Ring Fit Adventure for the Switch? And it's just like, I got Wii Fit for like $10 at like a thrift store. And it had the pad and everything. So I just figured it's $10. I might as well buy it and start playing it. And it did help me lose weight. It has been a fun schedule. So, that's what I've been doing.
I saw that you had lost a lot of weight thanks to that. That's pretty awesome in itself. Because I know Ring Fit, the little bit I played it kicked my ass.
I think, Clement, you're a much stronger person than I am, because I remember about 50 pounds ago jumping on a Wii Fit, and they do this thing where if you've gained weight since the last time you played Wii Fit, they make your me get fatter. They show your me actually expand in size, and I'm like, Yep, nope. And I just turned it off. I was like, I'm out of here.
Yeah. Well, I remember Nintendo got in some hot water with Wii Fit because kids were like, it was calling kids fat, essentially. They'd start, they would take your BMI and then call you a certain, and put you in a certain tier depending on your BMI or whatever. And that got some backlash, which, I can understand why. That's, yeah.
And the BMI is not really a good, a way to measure how healthy or how fit you are, really. I've been using it to measure my weight, mostly. Just, how much pounds I've actually lost. But when it comes to, the BMI, I could be super muscular and it would say I'm obese. So I wouldn't go by that specific reading,
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, God. If Eddie Beals in the chat mentions, the game also says oof when you step onto the balance board.
That's so messed up.
Oh, no.
The balance board is alive.
Up.
The board is alive and it comments when you step on it. I don't know.
Jacob U says, my sister made herself 6'3" so that Wii Fit wouldn't call her fat. Yeah, it was bad. That's terrible.
Oh, my God.
I don't need a video game telling me I'm fat. That's awful. Jeez.
I already know that's why I'm playing the game.
It's like, I already know I need to lose weight. I don't need a video game making me feel terrible about it. So I couldn't, Clement, I can't help but notice your awesome Scott Pilgrim poster back there. I, too, am a diehard Scott Pilgrim fan. And seeing that reminds me of a fun story, or a little anecdote. I used to work at Udon Entertainment, the art book publisher. Video game art books, anime art books. And one of the guys I worked with is a friend of Brian Lee O'Malley's, who is the real life, Wallace Wells. Basically, Brian Lee O'Malley based Wallace on this colleague that I used to work with. And I can say that I've worked very closely for years, or I used to for years, with the real life Wallace Wells.
That's kind of awesome.
I'm just I'm just a massive Scott Pilgrim fan in general. So
did it actually match up?
Oh, yeah.
Does he seem like Wallace?
Yes. And I'm not going to say his name because he likes to keep it on the down low. He kind of doesn't like to. But yes, I can. Yes, he's very much Wallace in real life.
He does steal girlfriends, boyfriends from them.
Yes, exactly.
I love Kieran Culkin's performance in Scott Pilgrim.
Oh, so good. So good.
Just
right?
the way he reads off those lines, it's like, do you see any of the beds in here? And just look around the room. It's like, nope, you're still totally my bitch. Just the way he's
so good.
Line reads that. It's
not
so
a race,
good.
guys.
Now I need to watch that movie again.
So good.
Yeah.
I still need to play Scott Pilgrim. Got a code, just need to play it.
Yeah.
So worth your time. It holds up really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
Though I have a feeling
it does.
About that is in our future.
I think there's just a little too much
pretty
grinding.
faithful to the original.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, I think it's a weird thing where the game is really fun, but the difficulty and power balance, it just there's a little bit too much grinding to get over that initial hump to where it starts really opening up. But once it does, the game just flourishes and becomes so much more fun. And there are fast grinding there are tricks you can use to get fast money and thus level up super
in response
quickly.
to Dusk Mirage in the chat, all the cheat codes are still there. So if you know the cheat codes from the old one, the only one that doesn't really map in the same way is the Noble Sacrifice cheat, which is somewhat different. If I remember correctly, on the Xbox 360 you had to hold left trigger and right trigger. It's totally different on the Switch in terms of the buttons you have to hold, but you still do the Konami code to get it.
Right,
oh, nice.
And it does work because I've been abusing it, and I can tell you for sure that it does work. Yeah,
there's something about those beat 'em ups with levels that the difficulty balance is a little tricky, because I remember going through that same sort of thing where early on River City Girls felt really hard.
Yeah.
But when you finally get levels and get the stuff buffed up, it's like, oh, okay, now we got a good balance. But it has a bit of a slow grind to that point. Did you play that one, Clement?
Yeah, I loved River City Girls. It was awesome. Okay. It definitely, I think Streets of Rage 4 is probably my favorite of all the recent beat 'em ups that have come out lately, because Streets of Rage 4, that's a game you can just kind of jump into, and you don't have to worry about RPG elements. You don't have to worry about visiting the shop and collecting money and stuff. you just go in and you just beat up people, and that's so friggin' fun. And River City Girls, yeah, there's a level up feature. You do have to buy things in shops, and that's how Scott Pilgrim is as well. And I still like those games for what they are, but sometimes you just want the simplicity of just jumping in, fighting, and then that's it. So, you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wolf X Blake in the chat says, I'm shocked Scott Pilgrim doesn't have a Mega Man reference. Well, it does, actually. It has a couple.
It has many,
just off the top of my head in the game. Yeah, so many. There's an E-Tank item in the game, and there's also the last level, or one of the last levels in the game has like blood dripping from the ceiling, and that's like a reference to Mega Man 2's final area where there's like, what is it, acid, I guess, or whatever, something dropping from the ceiling, little drips of creepy liquid. So those are just two off the top of my head, but there are plenty of Mega Man references, and I'm sure you know a few more, Clement.
When you win a stage with Scott beams out like Mega Man. He turns into a beam of light and zips out.
Yep, he
does. The very final thing you do to Gideon Graves, the very final thing, like, you fight him, and it turns out he's actually a robot, and then it pulls back, and it's been a hologram the whole time, and he's been operating the thing, and then once you defeat him, he just goes, "Please forgive me."
It's like beat for beat Mega Man 2's ending. Yeah.
So there's a lot of Mega Man stuff in there. You just have to know where to look.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Exactly.
Just gotta know them. But let's go ahead and get to our news topics, as it's been kind of new. There's a lot of news coming out lately. Yeah. It's been kind of insane. And perhaps the biggest that happened this week is just recent. It just happened recently, because a new Zelda Ocarina of Time beta build with the Spaceworld 97 assets has been unearthed. And I was actually, when I first saw this, I'm like, they finally found out more stuff from the Giga Leak. And no, it was from a disc that was found. There's not much code or music, just graphics and maps. And they've released dumped map files from the build and just tons and tons of assets and a lot of stuff from here that was shown in magazines back in the day, and now it's like we have context for it. They even have like the old map of Hyrule that was going to be a thing in the game, early builds of Kakariko and the graveyard, just placements of things. It is wild to look at from a development standpoint and how it all kind of built out from there. And this thing is a treasure trove of just awesome crap.
Yes.
You know?
It's so cool. Like, there's so much here that's just, it's so great for Zelda and gaming historians. And it's just, I mean, I'm noticing how, like, the medallions are differently colored, or at least a couple of them are. It looks as though there is a special arrow for each medallion, or for each element, I guess. That like, there's so much interesting stuff here, and I just love it.
Yeah, this is incredible. First off, I love the fact that we can talk about this without restraint, because it was obtained legally, as Derek mentioned. It's not stolen from Nintendo. It's not leaked. Somebody got a dev cart that had F-Zero on it and found this in the overdump of the cart. Like, if you don't know, development carts have way more memory than a real one, so that developers can test builds, like, that aren't optimized yet. And so they just found like unfinished Zelda 64 data sitting like off to the side of this F-Zero. Like, I can't even imagine the elation that these folks felt when they got this and found like the holy grail of N64 development stuff on there. The other part, because you have to be old to contextualize this, is that I saw someone asking Mega Conrad if this was for the 64 DD version of Zelda. No, this is way earlier than that. So if you were reading like EGM back in the day, or like Nintendo Power previews of what was then just called Zelda 64, this is where all these screenshots that no longer make sense in the context of the original game come from, like Link with brown sleeves, a Kakariko graveyard just looking like a boring ass line of graves, Lake Hylia just being like a lake with a house and a dock, like all this early stuff that, I remember being a kid and following this super closely, and then getting the game and being like, where's all the stuff I saw in all the magazines? Like, none of it's here. I love what I have, but this is a different game. And so, you know, and it even validates fan theories. Like, people thought, you know, oh, you could get the Medallion of Light and use it for magic. You could get the Triforce. You know, people talked about silver arrows in Zelda, and it just goes to show that Nintendo toyed with all these ideas. Like they found evidence of Link being able to do spells, of being able to use the medallions, of a completely different storyline has been found in this data. Like, originally,
wow,
you went forward in time, became an adult, the spiritual stones lost their luster, and you had to restore those before you could travel back and be a kid again. And then,
I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah, there's just so much that came out of this. It's like, I mean, as for me, like, all the stuff that it's a dream come true. Like, we are so close to a playable build of this, and people are injecting stuff from this build into the final game so that they can run around the maps and stuff. And it is,
I've already seen some videos to that effect.
Yeah,
like people
it's
are
just
playing in the. Yeah, it's so cool.
It is super cool. I just hope that we get the model, the character model of that weird version of Link is what I really want to see.
Oh, the brown-haired Link that's more based off of the original.
Exactly.
Designs.
I hope it's hiding in there somewhere, because I feel like they just keep finding new stuff.
But you know what we haven't found yet, and West Egg Games just touched on this. The unicorn fountain is not in there, and I so want the unicorn fountain. That's like the golden goose, right? The unicorn fountain. Steve, I know you and I talked a little bit about how you and I were both devotees of the Odyssey of Hyrule back in the day.
Yes,
and so I'm right there with you, man. For me, as an Ocarina of Time, just like obsessed historian, I guess, whatever you want to call it, I am right there with you about how cool all this stuff is.
Absolutely, man. I am thrilled to just see all this, and I turned on notifications for like must be a dozen people on Twitter that are looking into this, and every time something pops up, I'm like, what have they got? what have they found? And it's always something exciting. But yeah, I'm still waiting for the unicorn fountain. They found like a weird alternate unicorn fountain that didn't match the one that everyone has speculated about. So who knows? Like, maybe this build is too old or too new, and I don't know. But it's really cool to continue to find new stuff about this game 23, 22 years, like decades later.
It really is.
Well, what did you think of? Did you see this before we pointed this out, Clement, or did you miss this?
No, I just discovered this. I just discovered this in the last 2 hours, and it's so surreal seeing Kakariko Village as just like a flat plain with a whole bunch of just houses just scattered everywhere. Like, there's no hills, there's no pens with chickens in them and stuff. It's so strange seeing the village like that. And yeah, I also just remember all those old Zelda 64 magazine scans that were just like, what happened to that game? I'm so curious about that one. Like, I want to play that. You know, when I hear about news about like Zelda beta stuff coming out and Mario beta information from the leaks and whatnot, it always makes me wonder about, like, is the Earthbound 64, the Mother 3 64 version still out there somewhere? And will that ever come to light? You know, there's so many things from our childhood that we never got to experience, but we saw. And it's fun to see that, like, hey, there's a new way to play Zelda now because it's back. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one thing I want to say is, while we're unearthing weird stuff from the N64 era, I would love it, and I know it's just a tech demo, but I would love it if somebody unearthed the Final Fantasy VII N64 tech demo, where it was just Final Fantasy VI characters.
Right.
Yes, right.
I just want to
see so
that.
Cool. Yeah.
That'd be really cool. But back when they realized, like, oh no, we don't have enough space for
they're
this.
like, oh, we can't do this. Bad move.
This is not going to work. Oh man, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of, like, what else, like, would be this huge that somebody could find for from this era, and I really can't think of anything, because it seems like Mario 64 and Zelda were the two big ones.
At this point, I think the only thing that could top this is either a playable build of either of those two games, like a playable beta build that's just a package you could dump into an emulator and start playing right away, or dump onto a flash cart and throw it in your actual N64. But I don't know, unless there's just a project we've never heard of, right? Like something like, I think the only thing that could be bigger is like finding like a Luigi's Mansion ROM for the N64 or something,
Oh,
like
man.
where they had started development on it before porting it to the GameCube or something. But I don't think that exists.
What I want to see is maybe it's out there and I have missed it, but there are screenshots of a beta version of Chrono Trigger that shows the inspiration for the box art. Because like one of the main things about Chrono Trigger, the box art, if you know the game, is completely wrong. Marley doesn't use fire magic, but there's a screenshot out there that shows the inspiration for the box art, and I want to play that. Yeah, like I want to play that beta, or at least see that beta version of Chrono Trigger. And maybe it's already out there. I haven't looked into it that much, but it's if you haven't seen that, Steve, I'll send it to you after the show. It's pretty cool. Yeah,
I would love to see that, man. I need to replay Chrono Trigger.
Sonic X Ethan Mayer pointed out two things. One, first thing they mentioned was Sonic Extreme, which I thought a playable build of that did get put out there at some point.
Yeah.
The other one, which I was like, my God. Did the Mega Man Legends 3 demo ever get leaked? I don't normally track these things down. I would track that thing down hard. I need to see this.
Lose my mind if that ever got leaked. And what sucks is there are people out there to this day. I know there was one guy who got to do an interview there was some interview about Mega Man Legends 3 and its story and stuff, and it never saw the light of day. But there are a couple of people out there who still know how Legends 3's story was going to play out, and we're never going to know. We're never going to know.
Why won't they say? Talk.
I know.
Talk.
I wish. Well, but maybe one day they will, like 20 years later, like they did with Half-Life 3.
I guess.
It was like, it was released in that weird essay where it was like obviously Half-Life characters in the story, but with different names and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But
saving the story for when they actually make it.
Yeah.
One can only hope.
Yeah.
I think the 3DS was our best shot at Legends 3. I can't see it being on modern consoles unless they do a download. Unless like PS1 era graphics become back in vogue. Then we have a shot.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's like, has Yu Suzuki ever like talked about Shenmue 3's plot before Shenmue 3 was announced?
Steve, you know this.
So.
I believe that Yu Suzuki mentioned some broad strokes, but nothing detail-wise. Like, Ryo's going to continue his quest with Shenfa. Like nothing that would really. He never spelled out what was going to happen with the sword or any of that stuff. Like, he didn't resolve the cliffhanger. He did a Mega 64 video where he joked about it and like said Ryo was going to turn into a werewolf and stuff. But I don't think he ever did like a real serious breakdown of where he was headed.
Suddenly you have my interest.
I'm waiting to see what happens with the Shenmue anime. Like, I will review the Shenmue anime on this channel when it comes out, but I don't know if that's like in a replacement for Shenmue 4. I talked to someone, I have a source at Deep Silver who told me like they definitely made back their money. Like, as far as they're concerned financially, Shenmue 3 was a success. So, I mean, take that as you will. I also got confirmation that they were not involved in a sequel in any way. So I don't know if Shenmue 4 is a thing that's ever going to happen, but I hope so.
How many games does this story take to tell?
It's still telling the same one.
I mean, that's the thing. Is like, how many games does he need?
We've waited so long, Yu Suzuki. We've waited so long.
It was supposed to be
if you had this opportunity, you would try to get as much of that story out as possible, I would think.
You would think so, yeah.
Yeah, so if I remember correctly, and this is decades ago now, but I remember reading that originally there were like 12 chapters or something to Shenmue. Like, the way he wrote the story out, it was 12 chapters, and the first game, I want to say, was just one chapter. And then he realized, like, I'm not making 12 of these. And he condensed several chapters into 2, and I don't know how many of those are in 3, but 3 ends on, like, not just, like, so... Like, 1 is a very conventional story. 1 tells a story that makes sense top to bottom, start to finish. 2 tells a story that makes sense top to 75% of the way through. And then that last 25 gets batshit crazy. And you're like, and then he makes you wait 18 years.
Yeah.
And then you get part 3, and it tells a story that makes no sense. start to finish. Like, it's just like, hey, man, you waited 18 years. You're a fanatic. You're going to play whatever the hell I put on this game. And I'm sure I did, and I loved it. But at the same time, and I'm not going to spoil the ending for those of you that haven't finished Shenmue 3, but I was watching the ending being like, what the fuck is happening here? I don't know what I'm watching anymore, and I'm here for it. I absolutely adore the over-the-top campiness that is the ending of Shenmue 3, but it makes zero sense. Like, when you see it, like, go Google it if you have no interest in playing it, and come back to the chat and tell me if you could envision it ending the way it does, because I guarantee you can't.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check this out, because like I
have
like
no interest in Shenmue.
I have like a casual interest in it because I played the first one and I liked it, but I just know that I'm never gonna get around to playing 2 and 3, so I need to check this out.
I'll stick to eventually getting into the Yakuza series.
I've
just
beaten
real quick
Shenmue
before
3. It's hard to recommend to people, though.
Yeah. I would, just real quick before we move on, Joshua Hunter says, would you want to know about the other 3 Xenosaga games that was planned with the 3 they got? Because I condensed it because they weren't selling as well. Because that was supposed to be 6 games.
I would want to know.
I'd be interested to see how it would have been more fleshed out. Honestly, I'm much more interested in the fact that Xenogears was episode 5 of a planned 6-part story. I'm like, okay, what's the story there? Like, I want to see Xenogears with everything fleshed out, because it becomes a clip show of like, okay, this happened, then this happened, then this happened towards the end of that game. I'm like, wait, what? what's happening?
I want Xenogears' original disc 2. And I want to see how that was going to play out originally before they just cut so much out of it.
Fun fact, I believe Xenogears was originally supposed to be a Final Fantasy until it just got 2 out there.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that is correct.
So, yikes. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on. And we next up on our subjects, let's pop that up there.
Yep.
Takaya Imamura, the designer of Captain Falcon, Fox McCloud, and Tingle, has retired from Nintendo after 3 decades. We actually have a retirement going on here, which you actually don't hear about too often. I don't know how old he is, but, worked there for 30 years. And some of his credits include, like, he was an object designer on Link to the Past. He was a graphic designer on Star Fox, art director on Star Fox 64, did course design in F-Zero X, art director on Majora's Mask, a supervisor on F-Zero GX, and a co-producer on Star Fox Assault, and then was the director of Steel Diver. Now, even though there was an edit to this initial story where he looks like he's still, like, even though he's retiring from Nintendo, he is going to continue work as a freelancer. So it's going to be more like, I'll do what I feel like. So, hey, if we get into F-Zero, maybe he'll come back.
Right.
Yeah.
But what a career, man. Like, what an illustrious career, having created some of Nintendo's most iconic characters. I mean, God, Captain Falcon. I mean, that alone, Captain Falcon is, I mean, that character has basically almost, in a way, become the face of Smash, even though Smash is far from his series. And, I mean, what a career. And, I'll forgive him for Tingle. I've never been a Tingle fan, ever. But,
You leave Tingle alone.
Tingle was born of this man's frustrations. I mean, the poor guy, like, Captain Falcon, I mean, the meme king that he is has gone woefully underutilized over the decades. And same, honestly, goes for Fox McCloud at this point. Like, when's the last time Star Fox was a big deal? I think those are 2 franchises that Nintendo has lost their way with, and they just don't seem to be able to figure their way out of it. Which, by the way, Nintendo, if you're listening, just make like an open universe Star Fox game, please and thank you. I will. Like, if I could take off from Corneria and fly all the way to Venom. And do whatever
people
I want,
like the best parts of Starlink were the F-Zero bits. I mean, not F-Zero, Star Fox bits. Just expand that just with the Star Fox universe.
Yeah, let Ubisoft make it. I don't care. I just want to play it. I mean, I think that there's a very easy formula to crack with Star Fox. F-Zero, I feel like people just want F-Zero. Like, just give them another F-Zero game. Don't try to reinvent it. Just make it in HD. That's it. Get Shinen Entertainment to do it if you don't want to do it. Fast Racing Neo is pretty good. I bet they can do good things with F-Zero. So, I don't know. Yeah. I feel bad for this for this guy and the characters he's created, because I agree they're awesome characters. I just wish Nintendo would pull them out once in a while for something other than Smash. But Tingle is nightmare fuel, and he can die in a fire.
Nice. I completely agree with that sentiment.
I have the funny thing is I have Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land, and I can't look at it because the case really creeps me out.
Yeah.
I know you're a huge Star Fox fan, Clement.
Yeah.
So how's it?
Well, it's weird. I'm a huge Star Fox fan in regards to like the first 3. I like Star Fox Adventures too. I'm one of the rare defenders of that game. I think it was actually a solid adventure title. That just happened to be Star Fox, and that was its biggest problem, you know.
Right. I'd agree with
that. Assault was fine. I didn't think Assault was bad. Command's okay. Wasn't a big fan of Zero, but Star Fox 1, Star Fox 2, Star Fox 64, love those games to death. And
yes.
Yeah, I keep waiting for them to just capture that energy again, bring back that same like arcadey, like really quick hour-long experience that the first 3 titles were, but they keep making these games bigger and more gimmicky and more complex, and like, what am I going to do? You know, what are you going to do?
Well, and I hate that they keep rebooting it. Like, for me, I mean, Command gameplay-wise, it wasn't the best, but I love that they doubled down on the weird, furry soap opera, space opera weirdness,
right?
In Command, and I wanted them to keep doing that. Like, you know, Crystal turning into Cursed with a K, and you know, Fox drowning his sorrows over their breakup and drinks, and then joining the G0 races with Falco. Dumb shit like that. It was so good. It was so good, and then they decided to just pull it all back and go back to normal. And I'm like, no, you have something really, truly weird and awesome.
What's the canon ending there? Like, which one do you really go with? Because I don't think there's any normal endings to any of those storylines.
And like the one where we meet Slippy's kids, like it's all so weird. Yeah.
The first playthrough is locked, so that's probably the canon ending, just because you can't make any choices in the first playthrough.
Right.
But I don't know, man. Let's have an ending where Andross's nephew becomes the leader of Venom, and then he decides to take on the Lilat system. I don't know. But,
exactly. Like, I just feel like they were building something so cool, like, and just going all in on the weirdness, and then they were like, you know what, let's just reboot it all again. And I'm like, no, you had this bizarre universe going. Just double down on it.
You know, you want to have more of a galaxy-wide threat and have elements for all of them. Have, you know, the Ubisoft thing, the Starlink thing, where you're going back and forth. Have elements of Star Fox 2. Just on brainstorming stuff. Have freaking Andross become a virus-like Sigma and start infecting everything. Ooh. And all of a sudden, you have like so much enemy variety. You can bring back enemy types from across the series. You could have an actual showdown between Fox and Falco because Falco's ship gets infected by Andross. Just go balls out with this thing and go have this like crazy scenario that you'd never expect, and just have the odds stacked against him, and it's just finding a way to basically find a virus deletion software to get Andross out of this. And I don't know, have some fun with it and just let's go big and see what happens.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's my inner screenwriter coming out, but anyway.
Hey, I'm right there with you, man. I love everything you just said. I just want Star Fox to get back to being just weird and super self-indulgent again.
Mm-hmm.
But if Imamura is the art director of Majora's Mask, if he's the one responsible for the moon, then the man's a genius. Because the moon and the atmosphere of Majora's Mask, that's just like some of the best iconography of Zelda. Like, I just love everything about Majora's Mask's atmosphere and how it looks and how apocalyptic it feels at times. Like, when it gets to the final hours and then the sky just gets like dark red and it's just there staring you in the face, that moon, it's just like, if he had anything to do with that art, that's brilliant man. I'm gonna miss him.
Yeah,
fair.
I'm actually looking up like where, like, do they have like there's no details on who designed it. I was like, I have to look and find, but dang, nothing. Oh well.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I mean, I was taking a look at Captain Falcon's original design and the original F-Zero, and it's mostly stayed true. I'm going to pop it up here in the chat. The only major difference is his shin guards were more Falcons, which is just kind of amazing. And he had a bit of a communicator coming down, but otherwise, it's 90s comic booky, but it still holds true to how he looks today.
Yeah, it does. It hasn't changed that much. I mean, it has, but it also hasn't. The overall vibe remains the same.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And as Rob Barman Expert that puts it, that'd be a cool alt costume for Smash, right?
That really would.
Costume DLC.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I can't believe that hasn't been a thing. I can't believe they haven't had costume packs for all the different fighters.
I know. They would make money hand over fist on it. I would buy every single one.
Just give all the different versions of Link, Twilight Princess Link and Hyrule Warriors Link and every version of Link you could possibly want, but whatever.
Mm-hmm. I don't get it. Either way. Next up, let's go move on to our next story. So, MAGFest's board of directors have resigned, seemingly saving MAGFest from the brink of collapse. And the new board says that they're prepping for the best Super MAGFest they've ever had in 2022. Ash, you know a little bit more about this because I've never been to MAGFest. So,
right.
I'm guessing this sounds like all good news.
It does, yeah. I mean, I'm not obviously involved behind the scenes with MAGFest. I just love the show, and it's like my vacation show. I attended as a fan. And this is the best news I could have hoped for, I think. I mean, maybe there's some angle to this that could be negative, but just speaking purely as a fan of the show and as someone who has people that he goes to the show with every year, this is the best news I could have hoped for. And I truly was not expecting a happy ending here. It sounded as though the now previous board of directors were quite corrupt and running things into the ground and almost ensuring that MAGFest wasn't going to survive, at least in its current form. But I guess things were able to be negotiated and they stepped down, and now there's a new board of directors who are going to right the ship. So yeah, I can't speak from an insider's point of view, just from a fan's, but it's, as far as I can tell from the outside looking in, this is fantastic news. And we went from 5 days ago, the future of MAGFest being very much in doubt if there was ever even going to be another one, to, hey, we're actively planning for the 2022 show. So I couldn't be happier about this. I'm genuinely relieved because I was seriously heartbroken over this. It's such a special show for me, and I wish them all the best of luck, and I hope all their planning for MAGFest 2022 goes well.
When does MAGFest normally occur? I've never been, and I don't really
January. So actually, I would have just recently gotten back from Maryland. Now, if we had the show this year with the pandemic, there's no coronavirus pandemic, and and MAGFest's the internal strife wasn't happening. So yeah, it's usually like early to mid January.
Oh, okay. So that makes
I've seen
sense.
it
I was gonna say,
really
I'm
close
curious.
after the new year. I'm like, I have no idea how I do that.
Yeah, it kind of becomes like my wife and I have made it kind of like a New Year trip for us, and like I said, we have like a whole MAG fam, we call them, that we go to the show with each year. Now we all stay together and basically have like a 3 to 4 day room party. We rent adjacent rooms in the Gaylord Center and just have like a 4 day room party. It's amazing. Like, we have a sleeping room where people go to sleep when they need to, but the other room is there's like a whole DJ setup. We got Smash going. We got lights and stuff. It's the best time, and it's the best time. It's wonderful.
Sounds pretty awesome. Like, it sounds cool on its face. Like, I don't know that I'll ever be able to go just right after the holidays, but
of course,
man, maybe someday. I'm not ruling it out. It sounds cool as hell, and I'm glad that the show gets to continue for folks that, obviously this is a big deal to a lot of folks. It means a lot to people, so I'm happy.
I mean, there's no other show where you can, especially when you stay in the Gaylord Center, and if you're lucky enough to get like an atrium view room. I can't think of anywhere else, literally in the world, where you can wake up at any time of day or night, open your doors onto the patio, and see the Triforce Quartet playing Zelda music, or see the Super Soul Brothers doing jazz video game. It's just a 4 day celebration of games and video game music, and nice. I mean, it's perfect for me. obviously. So, yeah, no, it's wonderful. I mean, Jun Senoue came to do Sonic Adventure music live a couple of years ago, and I got to be there for it. I mean, that's the dream right there as a video game music, obsessive devotee. So, yeah, I'm so glad that this seems to be good news, and I hope that it all culminates in the show returning properly in 2022.
Nice.
We just need to get Clement to go to a American convention, which as soon as we get past this epidemic, I think is much more likely.
Yeah, I'm going to be waiting for that part to die down, but
yeah.
It's like I've always gone to stuff like Toronto Comic-Con and Con Bravo and a lot of stuff that's in Canada. And yeah, I love going to those events, and it's something I do every now and then, and there's always like a wholesomeness of like going with your friends and just buying a whole bunch of merch and playing all the cool new games that are coming out and stuff, and it's just such a fun atmosphere, and it's always great to do. And I'm glad that MAGFest isn't gone, like abolished completely. I'm glad that there seems to be a spark that it will return and that people will be having fun there again, and we just have to wait out this virus, and hopefully things will be back to normal soon,
And actually, Clement, you just mentioned playing games. I totally forgot to mention, out of all the cool stuff I just said about MAGFest, there is a 24/7 arcade that's like a giant, and I don't mean like a dinky arcade with a few games. They've got all all the Japanese rhythm games. It's a massive arcade, and it's free play. Your pass that you pay for means you get access to this 24-hour free play arcade throughout the entire show. And that's just one other thing that's cool about it. It's wild. I said 24/7. I wish MAGFest was a week-long show, but it is more like 24/4.
I've heard of people pushing themselves to the point of exhaustion because they want to try to do everything and never go to sleep, and it's...
Oh, yeah, you have to pace yourself. There's too much to do at MAGFest, for sure. By the way, welcome to the Playlog, who says, "Good evening, GVG dudes. I don't recognize your name, so I'm just wanted to say welcome and thank you for joining us."
I also don't recognize Summoner's Faith's name in the chat. Maybe you mentioned it before.
I actually do.
Okay.
I do, because I remember mentioning that I am also a Final Fantasy X fan and that I really like their name.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our next topic. And according to this, Nintendo's new Pokémon Snap listing has revealed that the game will have some form of online play. Now, I don't know what this actually exactly means. Online play could be as much as score attack, compare scores on these courses. Yeah, leaderboards and stuff like that. I don't know what it'll be. Ideally, it would be compete with friends for the best photos, and like I load up the game and Clement loads up the game and we take pictures and see who gets the better score taking pictures of all the animals, and you can mess with each other like, they have this shot lined up. I'm going to shoot a pester ball and screw up his view, and all of a sudden it's a botched shot. There's a lot of fun that could be had with competitive picture taking, but who knows what it's actually going to be.
We're sabotaging each other. Okay.
Yeah. You got that nice picture of Mew. No, I'm going to put something else in your way.
I mean,
I'd even just be down for some kind of Instagram social media kind of thing where I don't know, you post all your favorite pictures that you've taken, upload it to the server, and then maybe people can go into your profile and see all the pictures you've taken. I know it's going to be on rails again, like the original Pokemon Snap, but maybe there's going to be some interesting gameplay things that make you take pictures unlike the way other people would take pictures. I don't know, but I think that'd be a fun idea.
There are so many cool things they could do with this, with online functionality in Pokemon Snap, and I'm not going to get my hopes up because at the end of the day, this is Nintendo and online, so I'm going to expect the bare minimum, but I'm going to hope for something more than the bare minimum. And I do think I love your idea, Clement, of an Instagram type thing where people can have their own albums that can be browsed. I think that's a cool idea, and that's just one of many they could do. So hopefully it isn't just online leaderboards, and maybe there's something a little more robust here, but it is interesting nonetheless.
You know what I would love that is also a Nintendo level bad online move? I would love if you and your friend could each choose the Pokemon picture you're most proud of, right? and submit them against each other online, and then we vote the damn pictures. So it's like they just put it out to the broader online community, this picture versus this picture, and they vote just like in We Vote, and you get to see what just the community at large thinks is the better photo. Like, not your
You mean
friends,
like the
just-
Everybody Votes channel? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, sorry.
I
Everybody
missed that
votes.
thing.
I
missed
love that
thing.
channel.
It
Yeah,
was so cool, right? Yeah.
I missed that stupid channel. I would literally like just port Everybody Votes back to the Switch. Like, give me that
Yeah.
one channel.
I really
don't care.
enjoyed that.
Vote on
Yeah.
random things. There you go.
I guess Splatfests are kind of a new manifestation of that, but it's not the same.
Yeah, it needs that weird like void of personality to it to be
Yeah,
really special.
yeah, 100%.
Goodness.
By the way, welcome to Captain the Face, who says, "Hey guys, first time tuning in live. Love the work you all do." Well, thank you very much, Captain the
thank you.
Face,
Yeah,
and
thank you.
thank you for joining us live. And we hope to see you here more often.
But I don't really have any other ideas beyond that. It could be cool. It could be, well, Nintendo. And their typical
Yeah.
online.
Exactly.
Yeah. Either way, next up, go ahead and pop that up.
There you go.
The Bravely Default 2 producer has detailed further improvements to the final game. And I've not actually had a chance to look at this yet, so hopefully it has a nice bullet point. Nope.
No, they don't. But I read it earlier, so if you want, I can kind of chat about it.
If you could, Ash.
Yeah, so it's really minor stuff that they're talking about specifically in this article. Things like they cleaned up the faces on character icons and shops and menus. This is Masashi Takahashi, by the way, talking. This is Bravely Default 2's producer. He says that they didn't change the models or anything. They just adjusted the shadows and such to make things look nicer. This one is a bit of a red flag to me. So additionally, he says, we added the ability to compare new weapons and armor in shops. Now, to his credit, he does say, I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, but this is a feature that should have been in the game already. And they just weren't able to implement it in time for the first demo. But to me, that's something really basic that needs to be part of modern JRPGs. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying about my concerns about the game so far, despite loving Default in second. It just seems like there's just something's not quite right here. I don't know what it is, but I do have to respect Takahashi's utter devotion to taking feedback from the first demo and improving the game right up to release. Certainly he's doing the very best that he can, and I hope it turns out well. I hope it works out.
Agreed. I think that I wasn't a big fan of the first demo. Are they releasing an updated demo for this? Do we know that?
They already have.
They did. And it's basically
Yeah.
it's a 5-hour vertical it's basically a vertical slice of the final game that you can play on a 5-hour timer. But there's nothing carries over to the final game. No sort of progress can be made. And that's another thing is like prior to this, like Bravely Second and Bravely Default had demos that you could actually, they were like unique experiences. They weren't just a demo of the final game. They were unique scenarios that you could then transfer progress over to the final game, and that's also missing here. So it's just when I downloaded the final demo and realized it was just 5 hours that you could play the final game, I'm like, but why not just wait for the game then? I guess.
Yeah, that seems weird to me. I mean, I'm not going to fault them for not putting out like a prologue that we can play through, because I mean that's a cool, nice, free extra. But
yeah, sure.
I do agree that putting out like a 5-hour demo, like I wouldn't want to play the 5-hour demo and then find out like, hey, you got to play that again.
It's
exactly.
a little different from the demo they put out for Dragon Quest XI-S, where you could just make so much progress and get a real feel for that game, and all of a sudden it's like where they leave you, it's like, oh, I want to know more. Let me play more.
Yeah, I think that's the right way to do it if you're going to do a demo based on the actual game. Like, let me pick up where I left off. If you're going to throw that buy button in my face at the end of this, I want to continue where I was, not like 5 hours back. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of red flags with this game. Nothing so far has grabbed me. Like, I need to see all these improvements in the final product, and then I hope they put out like another demo like that's representative of whatever is landing on retail shelves.
I'm guessing not.
I think
Yeah.
that's what this is. The demo that's out now is called the final demo. So I think this is supposed to be representative.
So maybe I'm getting more confused, but are these improvements in that demo?
I think so.
That's the question. I think they are, but it's hard to say. But I mean, it has to be.
I mean,
right.
you could easily check just by playing.
Yeah, you could.
Well,
yeah,
you can compare items.
If anybody in the chat has played this demo yet, clearly I have not. Let me know if any of the stuff.
Clement, have you played the demo yet?
I played the first demo. I haven't played the second one, but it definitely feels like a 3DS game that's been up-resed and brought to the Switch. You know, it doesn't feel like the big console iteration of Bravely Default that maybe a lot of people were expecting. So maybe that's why there's a little less hype than usual. But
yeah,
I don't know. I'm a sucker for these games. I'm a big turn-based RPG fan. I still love the Bravely system, just being able to stack all the different defaults and braves and just unleash on people. Like, I still had fun with the combat, even in the first demo. I still made it through the whole dungeon and got to the end of it, but
yeah, I did too.
Yeah,
that demo
I just hope they have
the.
Yeah, it was tough. I just hope they still have like the eliminate random encounters kind of thing that was in the original game, because that was the best part, was that you could always turn it off whenever you wanted. So you just, like, if you wanted to just go through a dungeon without fighting anything, if you just wanted to fight forever because you're just trying to grind and you just want the encounter rate up like 1,000%, you can do that. And
you can speed up battles.
Yeah, speed up battles and just do things that you did in the last battle over and over again. Like, it is surprising the demo was so lacking when the original game had all those features. But, you know, I get the feeling this is a passion project. I get the feeling that they have been listening to feedback. I hope that this game turns out to be a sleeper hit, because, you know, there are some games I don't expect to be amazing. Like, Fire Emblem Three Houses looks all right. Yeah, it looks pretty fine. And then Fire Emblem Three Houses comes out and it's like, whoa! That is the best Fire Emblem game I've ever played. Holy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm optimistic that Bravely Default 2 will be pretty good. But yeah, it's been weird going into it, I guess.
I think maybe I'm looking at it from maybe I'm being overly hard on it, because Bravely Second was like my game of the year for 2006. I think that's when it came out in the US. It was my game of the year, easily. I loved it. And I liked Bravely Default a lot, but I loved Bravely Second. And so I think I'm coming at this from that viewpoint. And I can't help but feel a little bit disappointed, or a lot of it disappointed, from what I've seen and played so far. Especially because, as you touched on, Clement, the combat feels like it's really taken a step back, in the sense that, at least in the first demo, the encounter slider is gone. You know, now you're running into enemies on the world map. The encounter, the victory multiplier, where you could like grind even faster by winning multiple battles in a row, that's gone. One of the things I loved, or the thing I loved most about Default and Second, is the complete control over the user experience the player has. You know, like, as you said, if you want to fight, you can fight. If you don't want to, and you just want to get to a save point, you can do that too. And they do still have, you can still change the battle speed in Bravely Default 2, and I appreciate that. But it just feels like they double down on the wrong things. But, as you said, it is still very possible that it could be a sleeper hit. And again, I might be coming at it from too harsh a perspective, just because I'm such a huge Bravely Second fan.
You have high expectations, and
exactly.
I'm one of those things. I'm one of those people who I'm already noticing there's a lot for me to play this year. There is a long lineup of games. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be picking and choosing, and I know I can jump into Bravely Default 2. Yeah, it's a completely new story. But part of me is like, I'd still prefer, I have Bravely Default and Bravely Second. I should probably beat those first, and I'll get to Bravely Default 2 later. Plus, you know, by the time I actually get to it, it'll be hopefully cheaper, and take it from that perspective. So I've been kind of a more lackadaisical in my purchases, and it helps out in the old wallet.
WolfX Blake says, I hope the soundtrack is just as great as the previous two. I can almost guarantee you it will be, because if Bravely Second had any like minor down point for me, it was the soundtrack, which I still thought was great, but it wasn't like the legendary heights of the first Bravely Default. And they got the composer for Bravely Default 1 back for Bravely Default 2. It's a Japanese guy, Revo. And and you can tell from the style of the soundtrack in 2 so far that he's very much doubling down on the style that was so popular in the first game soundtrack. So I can almost guarantee you it's going to be a great soundtrack.
Very cool. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our next topic. And this one is courtesy of Capcom, as they have commented on the Monster Hunter Rise demo, stuttering for some people. However, they have confirmed that it's a demo-only issue, so it's not something that's going to be present in the full game. Now, I've not played the Monster Hunter Rise demo. This is coming up with a theme, but I don't know about that stuttering myself. But they did say for customers using the demo version of Monster Hunter Rise, if the number of registered friends on the user's account exceeds a certain number, the game will begin to stutter. This is a processing failure. Please be assured that we have confirmed that this issue does not occur in the full version. We apologize for any inconvenience and thank you for your support. That is such a weird problem to have. Like, you have too many friends, we're going to stutter the game.
You know what? I actually think I know why this happens. So I believe what it's doing, because I read a thread about this, is that the game is, or the demo. Capcom says it's just the demo. So the demo is actively, repeatedly checking the online status of all your friends.
That makes sense.
And I know that Nintendo in their API for the Switch has the ability to just pull people that are online. Like, the Switch knows in the background if your friends are online or not without the game having to check. And so I think in the demo, they just coded this like in more of a slapdash way that it just checks your whole list. So I could see that, like, just, I mean, every little thing takes away from CPU cycles that could be used for making the game run more smoothly. So it's just poor optimization, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have you, none of us are really Monster Hunter fans. Did you ever get into the series, Clement?
No, that's a series that's always eluded me. I did play the original. I did play the original on PlayStation 2, but it was so slow for me, and it just wasn't my kind of game. And I know that it's definitely improved since then. I've heard nothing but, like, the first one's not where you start, because the first one's not the best game in the series. And it's like, okay, I get that, but
yeah,
it's just one of those series that's passed me by, so I have no real experience with it.
Yeah, I don't have the same pull. Like I see everybody talk about Yakuza, and I look at the screenshots, like, I gotta play that. But then I look at something like Monster Hunter, and it's cool, but the little bits I played, the gameplay loop has never pulled me in.
I agree.
In the same way.
Same. I do want to check out the Rise demo, though. That's on my list. It's on my list.
What'd you say, Steve?
I said, thank God for Brandon.
Yeah, seriously.
Yes.
Brandon is our diehard fan, so...
On multiple fronts. Thank God for Brandon, for sure. I do appreciate Capcom coming right out and saying this, though, and just being very transparent about it. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And it's good to know that it's not going to affect the final game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, somewhat related to this, we're just going to roll this in here along with it, because it's, talking demos. It was also announced that Balan Wonderworld, because I always want to say Wonderland. Wonderworld will actually have a demo on January 28th for all platforms, including PS5, PS4, Switch, Xbox Series X, and Steam. And this is one I'm really excited for. Like,
me too.
I'm not 100% sold on it, but I'm so intrigued by it that Square Enix has this platformer by, the creator of Knights. And let's see how this works out. It looks charming as all hell, but this is definitely a demo I want to stream. I want to stream on the channel.
I have really complicated feelings about this. I'm really happy about the demo. First, let's be clear. Like, the demo, I'm thrilled about because I'm exactly the person that needs this demo. Because I am not sold at all on Balan Wonderworld. And I love Yuji Naka. I'm a fan of some of his work. I hate to phrase it that way, but, like, Billy Hatcher sucked. The stuff he did at Probe, I wasn't a huge fan of. He hasn't really, like, put out anything brand new that has blown me away. Rodea the Sky Soldier I thought was okay. To be fair, I played the Wii U version and not what I hear is the vastly superior Wii version.
That's what I've heard as well.
Yeah, and, like, Knights 2 was like, I mean, there's a lot of things that I'm just like, I don't know that that he has earned my unwavering faith, So I'm curious to see it. I do agree with you guys that visually it looks charming. I'm just not like faithful that the gameplay is going to be there. So this demo will really go a long way towards deciding whether or not I'm going to pick up this game. I foresee, I would love to, and I know we always have like this is like a running gag almost at this point, but I'd love to sit down and talk about this once we're all able to play it and see where we all land, because I'm significantly less hyped than you guys. But that being said, I'm still curious enough that I will fire up my PS5 and play this like on the 28th. I'll be right there waiting to download it.
I'm actually pretty close to how you feel, Steve. Like in theory, I'm really excited for this because I love 3D platformers, and I love the idea of a really good 3D platformer from Yuji Naka and published by Square Enix. Like I'm so intrigued by the fact that this is even happening, and I really want it to be good. But as you said, Naka's output is inconsistent at best, and I know there is a more than decent chance that the gameplay just isn't going to be up to snuff, despite how cool it looks visually. So that's, I'm probably a little more on the positive side of the needle than you are, but I'm not that much further. And I just really want it to be great, but I don't know that it will be. And that's why I'm glad it's getting a demo, because I figured one of us would stream it, and Derek, that makes sense for it to be you. If you weren't going to do it, I was. So
yeah, I think I'm the most hyped just because, I don't know, everything I've seen from this looks like such a charming platformer that I really want to give it a shot.
Yeah,
but,
and
we got Clement on. How do you feel about it, Clement? That's kind of perfect.
It's a pretty similar idea, really. Again, I'm not a big fan of Billy Hatcher. The second Knights game wasn't that amazing, but I love the original Knights, and I liked what Yuji Naka did with Sonic. And it looks great, and I feel like maybe now that he has had tons of experience with game development over the years, with Rodeo the Sky Soldier being really good, maybe this will be a surprise hit. I don't know. I'm not saying it's going to be, but it might be. So I'm willing to give it a shot. But it's a weird like Sega resurgence right now, but it's not Sega. You know what I mean? Like they have that Bomb Rush Cyberfunk that's not Jet Set Radio, and it's not by Sega, but it's kind of Jet Set Radio, if you squint your eyes.
Yeah. That's the whole thing. Like Streets of Rage technically wasn't done by Sega, but it was still really good. So it's like Sega has like these adjacent hits almost. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's
like Sega fan in me is excited just because there's so much Sega love going on, between Streets of Rage and Yakuza and all these things. And just because I have nostalgia for that art style, nostalgia for Yuji Naka, nostalgia for everything he did over the years, I'm going to check it out. I got to check it out. But it might be another Billy Hatcher where some people like it, a lot of people don't. We just have to wait and see, really.
I mean, at least we don't have to guide an egg around at all times. That makes it a little nicer.
Yeah.
And the and the protagonist isn't in half a chicken suit. One thing I want to say though about Yuji Naka moving to Square, I sincerely hope he brings some of his old school Phantasy Star energy to like a proper RPG project at Square, because the original Phantasy Star, what would it be, quadrilogy? Those are incredible games, except for 3. 3 is not that great, but they're mostly incredible games, and I would love to see him like get back into some type of role with a serious like turn-based RPG series, because I mean the work he did on Phantasy Star was incredible. I mean, light years beyond what anyone was doing at the time, and he since once he became known for Sonic, that was it for him, and that's where his career took him. And I'm very happy for him, but I would love to see him take a hand at doing an RPG again, because he was very clearly talented in that area as well.
Yeah. I think Rob Arman X hit on something about the appeal, kind of the general appeal of Balan Wonderworld. He says, for me personally, I just want to support a 3D platformer with a big budget. And I think there's something to that. 3D platformers are still kind of not a dying genre, but they're not exactly thriving. I mean, Yooka-Laylee happened, and it was fine. It wasn't great, but it was fine. But we haven't seen, we got A Hat in Time, but that's an indie game that is a great indie game but I think its exposure was rather limited because of the fact that it's an indie game. We don't really get AAA big budget 3D platformers anymore. We just don't get them.
The closest we have that's coming up is Ratchet and Clank,
right?
Rift Apart. But I mean, and I'm super excited for that. But that does bill itself as more of a shooter than a platformer.
Exactly.
And
and
that's
so
where
I
it
just
sort
think
of
there's some there's some inherent appeal in having a game like this come out from a major publisher that has a lot of money behind it. So I'm hoping for the best, not necessarily expecting the best, but I'm really crossing my fingers that this game ends up being great. In the meantime, though, Sega, can you please just port Knights HD to Switch? Please? Please, please, please. Why is that game not on Switch yet?
All right. Well, we're already running late, so let's go ahead and jump into our final story of the night. And tens of thousands, speaking of platformers, tens of thousands of Yooka-Laylee Triforce statues that went missing in 2016 have now turned up in the Philippines shops for less than $10 each. What the hell?
That is wild.
Yeah.
That is like why Triforce statues? I'm looking. I don't see any Triforce on them, but
that's the company that makes them.
Oh,
so
okay.
I think the story is here. So Triforce is the name of a popular company that makes really nice, really detailed PVC statues. Right now, actually, they've got this Breath of the Wild, Link, and Zelda ones that light up that I really want. But these, to give you a frame of reference, I don't know how much the Yooka-Laylee statues were supposed to be, but they usually border between $50 and $80 each. So this thing was probably destined to be 8 or 9 times as much as they're charging for it.
Looking at the detail, I can see it because, I might not be the biggest fan of the original Yooka-Laylee, but Impossible Lair was fantastic. And this is a nice looking statue.
It really is. I mean, I wouldn't mind having one of these. I mean, I love the look of this. And
There's definitely a huge negative to this story, but if somebody offered me this thing for $8, I would buy it. I would I wouldn't question it. I'd be like, yes, I will take 2. I mean, I get it though, so the story sounds like Triforce maybe farmed out the production of these to some other company. Company went bankrupt. Probably somebody bought up all that company's assets and then offloaded all the Yooka-Laylee statues crazy cheap after, discovering them. I don't know, like I guess you get into like weird murky legal territory with could Playtonic get these back, or could Triforce get these back? I don't think so. Also, is it worth it? But
I mean, I'd be happily paid, way more than $10 for one of these, just because they're really nice statues. But $10, I feel bad that it happened, and I wish it hadn't. But man, I would be happy.
Wow, this gets wilder. Rob Arman X in the chat says Andy followed up and said that they were never officially released because of this.
Yeah.
So
one day the company just went dark.
For $8, a really high quality statue, you're getting a piece of gaming memorabilia that nobody was able to get their hands on before. To eBay.
Speaking of, there's a person that responded to him with like display cases of like I guess other statues like this. One of Banjo-Kazooie, one of Conker on his throne, one of Battletoads, and they all look really nice. Like my God, like those are gorgeous looking.
I'm jealous.
So it's like something about this whoever was making these did good work, but don't know why they went bust all of a sudden. But that's okay.
Yeah, it's a shame. It really is.
Would you pick up one of these, Clement? How were you into Yooka-Laylee? Because I know you're a fan of platformers as well.
I'm a big fan of Banjo-Kazooie, but I never actually played Yooka-Laylee. I heard so many mixed reviews that I got kind of scared off from wanting to try it. I've heard great things about the Impossible Lair. I just haven't gotten around to it yet, so I'd pay $10 for a statue. Sure, $10. That's an easy. That's an easy
impulse
sell
buy.
for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I don't want to put words in your mouth about what you feel about the original Yooka-Laylee. Ash likes it more than I do, but I think we can all agree that Impossible Lair is a really fantastic 2D platformer.
Oh, it's phenomenal. I mean, who would have thought that Playtonic would do a much better job at making what is essentially almost Donkey Kong Country 4 than they would, what they initially set out to do, which was a new Banjo-Kazooie-esque 3D platformer.
I think it was just
$1 million question though. Is it better than Tropical Freeze?
Man,
I feel like we need John here
they're
for
both
that.
really damn good, and
I think I'd still put Tropical Freeze above there, but it does more interesting things with the overworld in Tropical Freeze. I think the levels are better in Donkey Kong, in Tropical Freeze. I think the overworld is better in Impossible Lair.
Man,
There's some really
it's
good stuff.
really close.
Yeah.
I might put Tropical Freeze slightly above it, but just the fact that I would even put it slightly above it says worlds about how fantastic Impossible Lair is. Like, if you haven't played that game and you like platformers, you need to play it. And don't even worry about, how average, slightly above average Yooka-Laylee was, the original.
Yeah. Cool. Well,
I'll play it eventually.
I figure. I mean, I'm still mystified at how you can just. How quickly did you get through the Yakuza series? Like, it's crazy.
Well, I started playing them during the pandemic, so I didn't have much going on at the time. But,
True.
Yeah, I played Yakuza 1 in May, and then I think I finished Yakuza 6, the last one, up until Like a Dragon came out in, September, October, something like that.
Wow.
I have way too much time on my hands. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Hey,
That was
more power to you,
impressive. The sad thing is you still have Judgment to play and Yakuza 7 now. Like, you're still not caught up.
Oh, Judgment is so good. I've not finished. I'm really close to finishing Yakuza 0. I'm in chapter 3 of Like a Dragon, but I finished Judgment in a few days. It was so good. I could not put it down.
Yeah, you really liked it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I hope that gets I hope they keep doing Yakuza spin-offs, because I really, really liked playing as I thought the combat system in Judgment was way better than that in the other Yakuza games, but I feel like I also may be a little biased at this point. I need to go back and try 0 again and finish it off. I'm in the final moments of 0, but I'll get back to that someday.
I'll play it someday.
One of these days I'll get to I have a copy of Yakuza 7 waiting to be played. It's just a matter of getting to it.
I
And
have
Judgment,
Yakuza
don't you?
0 through 5. I'll play it eventually.
Yeah.
Isn't there... Aren't most
Personally,
of the Yakuza games
at the
on
very
Game Pass
least,
too?
you could play Yakuza 0, 1, and 2. And if you want to quit after 2, cool. You don't need to play 3, 4, and 5, even though they're good as well. Yakuza 0, 1, and 2, to me, are the best ones. And
That's what I've heard.
Nice.
what better way to start than with those 3, so...
And I've heard you can kind of skip, if you do want to finish out the story or Cosmo's story, you can kind of play 0, 1, 2, and then kind of skip to 6, right? And just play that?
It introduces a lot of characters in between, and
Mhm.
part 3 is where Kiryu takes control of an orphanage, and that becomes a big part of his
Oh,
character
right.
for the rest of the series. So
Okay. Mm.
I don't know. I think you still need to play all of them if you want the full story, but
Okay.
you could jump in it. The thing I like about all 6 of these games, all 7 of these games really, is that they're all standalone stories. None of them end on cliffhangers. None of them require that you've played the previous ones. If you just want to jump into Yakuza 5, Yakuza 6, whatever, you don't need to have played the rest of the series, and it has a definitive ending, and it doesn't sequel bait you at all. So, you can just
Nice.
jump in whenever you want, play whatever game you want. So, it's not like Shenmue, where the reason there are 6 Yakuza games is because the story's not done yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got this epic tale to go over. But
Derek, really quick before you close this out, I just wanted to say welcome to Sergio Oporto in the chat. It's
nice.
another name I don't recognize. I just wanted to say thank you for joining us live,
Yeah,
and
thank
we
you.
hope to see you for more live episodes. So thank you.
I'm hoping 2021 could maybe be the year I start catching up on a lot of the big games I have not played yet. I'm not sure how likely that is, because ever since Clement said he wanted to cover Final Fantasy 14 as part of his Final Fantasy retrospective, that's a perfect time for me to jump in as well, and I can have somebody to play with and get through that. But it's also
Join me, Derek. Join me.
Well, also not just that, but I'm shocked, Derek, that you think 2021 of all years is going to be the year that you get to do that when you just had a kid. I feel like that's the least likely year.
I mean, yeah, That's also true, but I gotta have hope.
Being a parent, whatever.
I mean, is it sad that I feel like I have more free time with having a kid than I did when I was working at Game Explain?
No, that makes perfect sense in a weird way.
Last time we opened this can of worms, Vice got involved. I don't know that we.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just leave it at that. But that is also very much thanks. I can do a lot of this just thanks to the fact that Amy helps out a ton with Kai. So either way, we'll see what happens, and I'd love to be able to play with you. But with that, I think we've covered all the major headlines from today's news. So, Clement, good sir, where could everyone find you at?
I am Clement J64 on YouTube. Mostly I play Let's Plays, but I have been doing some video essay type content like my Final Fantasy retrospective. I started it back in like 2017, and I've been going through all of the main numbered Final Fantasy games. I've just made it to 14. I've done 1 through 13, and that includes 10-2, that includes 13-2, as well as Lightning Returns. So they're all more than an hour long. So if you have a lot of time on your hands and you just want to hear a nerd talk about Final Fantasy, then there's something for you. We're in a pandemic. I know you're all bored. Come on over. I'm very friendly. I'm Canadian.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
There you go.
I mean, listening to a nerd talk about Final Fantasy, that sounds like what YouTube was built for. So
I'm just living up to its potential.
Yeah, exactly. But we also have to give by the way, I cannot recommend that series enough. I love it. I love it to death. I look forward each time, it's also served as a massive inspiration for the series I keep talking about, and hopefully we'll have ready soon. But yeah, we'll go from there. But we also have to give a special thanks to all of our patrons, whether you're $1, whether you're extremely generous with the our biggest tier. It all helps. It all is appreciated. We can't thank you enough. But of course, we have to have a special thanks to our patrons at the producer tier for helping to make this show happen. And in addition, a massive, massive thank you to our patrons at the executive producer tier and above. And God, it grew even more since we last looked.
Right.
So let's get this thing going. Rob, R-Man X, Dan and Twistle, Z Patty, Adam O'Sullivan, Floating Mew, Christopher, The D-Pad, Vesmio, Waffle King, Kieran Phillips, Benny Yao, Rosa Bowling.
Hi, Mom.
Geller, Shiny Turkey, Titus Malvolio, Jake Pelka, Michael Phone, Mitchell Herring, Game Explain, Charles Saz, Andrew Medeiros, Jonathan Belmare, Kitty Kong Fax, Patrick Harrison, Scott Barber, Evernight Studio, Rocks the Cat, Loyal Dingo, Azran127, Phantom 23, Sean Garrett, Shadow the Cat, Guillaume Monet, Kai Ed, Kit Fisto, Orem M, Top Dog 23100, West Egg, Master Lynx, Sean Davis, Deaneth, Coda, Lucky Wonderfish, Brandon Bovia, Octopuppet, Charlie Bird, Matthew Wong, Ashish Joshi, Michael McCall, Eric Flapjack Ashley, Jackson Jordan, Sky Blue Flames, Young Ben Kenobi, Hyrule Hermit, Goron Amber, Joshua Rhodes, Hugo J8A, Seth Walker, Dway, Macalau, Ken Roulette 09, Hooby, Marcos Conscious, Wolf Blake and Moon Macarons, Demon Kid Zaraki, and our two new executive producers, Spencer Caddy and Leanne Mustafa.
Man, seeing it all or hearing it all read out like that is so humbling, you all. Like,
it really is.
Incredible support that we're getting from you is just, it's wonderful. And I said, it's humbling. So thank you so much. That list has gotten so long.
Gonna kill my voice by the end of this.
Right?
But remember that you too can become a patron over at patreon.com/gvgaming, where you can watch today's news tonight live for as little as $5 a month. Thank you all so much for watching. And if you like this video, be sure to subscribe to Good Vibes Gaming for more good times like these. And until next time, good night and good vibes.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.